guys, welcome to my comparison video between my new 2019 MacBook Pro side and my older 2014 MacBook Pro. This one's 15.6 inches, I think, something like that, 15.4 inches. This is the 16-inch MacBook Pro. I've done some upgrades to this one. This one had upgrades. I'll just go through the specifications on them now. This one has my wife's old MacBook Air backup restored on it, and this one is a restoration of what was on my MacBook previously, before I restored her things on it. Both of them are running Catalina, which, you know, if you've not upgraded to yet, make sure you have a backup of your current system, because Catalina will not let you download previous versions of macOS if you want to roll back. So make sure you have those already and prepared on a USB drive or something like that, or do a restoration from a backup that you've created already if you have one. I ran into an issue with my camera that I'm using now to record this on, the Sony camera. It does streaming, and we were going to stream wirelessly from it. As it turns out, the Ustream that they used to go through was being bought by IBM, and now it's a paid service. But also the software would not allow connection to set up the wireless, to set up the streaming settings within the camera through Catalina. So it told me to use a previous version of OS X, so that's where I ended up running into a lot of problems trying to get that back, and it not being able to do that. I ended up just installing Windows on there, and then as I went further through the process, found out that it's now a paid service and no longer free. So probably won't be doing that. Anyways, let's just go through the settings here on them. So this is my wife's MacBook, and it's Catalina running 10.15.2. This is also running 10.15.2. It's a 15-inch mid 2014 Pro, and this is a MacBook Pro 16-inch 2019. This has a 2.5 GHz quad-core Intel Core i7 processor in it, and this has a 2.3 GHz 8-core Intel Core i9 in it. Memory is a 16 gig of 1600 MHz DDR3 memory, and I upgraded this one to have 32 gigabytes of 2667 MHz DDR4 memory. The graphics on this are the Intel Iris Pro 1536 megabytes, and the graphics on this is the Intel UHD Graphics 630 1536 megabytes. They both have the updated graphics card in them, so if we go to, I guess it shows under let's just go through displays on them both now. So the 15.4 inch is 2880 by 1800 pixel resolution, and this is a 16 inch 3072 by 1920 pixel resolution. So there's not a vast difference in size. I mean, you can see from this it goes very close to the edge of the screen bevel. This one is a bit more of a bevel around the screen. Things on this one also are a little bit more kind of zoomed in, larger text and everything. The text on here is quite small because of the higher resolution. It makes it a little bit more difficult to look at. If we move on to storage for both, It says 1 terabyte of flash storage. Again, on this one, standard. This has 500 gigabytes of flash storage, so both using SSDs. Just 500 gigabytes on this one. And it's currently 179 gig available on this one, and I've got 860 265 gig available of 860 because of the boot camp partition that I set up in order to prepare stuff. Okay, so some of the other things that you may notice straight away when you compare them is the keyboards very similar size, slight layout differences in the return keys and things like that. Obviously the MacBook Pro 16-inch has a touch bar at the top which you can use to increase brightness and things, and it's actually interactive, so if you're playing back a video it will actually give you the timeline so you can quickly find a place on it or scroll through quickly, and that is customizable. You can tell you what you want to put down on there. I use it sometimes, not that frequently. Ours has the function keys at the top, which are handy if you want to like dim the brightness or bring it up or reverse up the keys and everything else. It's a little bit more fiddly on there with the touch screen, they're kind of like this, and you've got to open it up and then adjust it and then close it down again. Trackpad on the new 16-inch is much bigger than the trackpad, and it actually tracks differently, feels differently. One of the main issues I came up against when I was first using it was drag and drop. It didn't seem to be as easy to drag and drop on this. It seemed to be more sensitive. I was selecting things when I wasn't meaning to select them because you didn't actually have to physically push in as much, but it does have the option of kind of touching it and then physically pushing in, and same with the other, but it's less, I guess, not less responsive, it just requires like less hard of a touch in order to select something in this, but it has like a force touch where you can push harder to get more options within it, so it's kind of like it gives you, like a double touch, I guess, a lot like the iPhone screens and things like that, where you can touch things, so you can press on it and exert pressure to thing. It does the same with the touchpad. There's been a few occasions where I've had trouble, I said, like dragging and dropping and things like that, but I found that you can go through the accessibilities, and there's lots of videos out there on YouTube about it. If you go to the accessibilities, you can turn on 3-finger drag, which allows you to drag things around with 3 fingers. Takes a little bit getting used to, but it was certainly easier than what I was doing. I mean, normally what I used to do is I would click and hold it, and then I would move my other finger to move around, and it does work on this. It just took a little bit of time because of the differences in pressure and everything else in order to kind of get that working. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to shut them both down, and then I will start them both up from fresh, and we can just see if there's any difference in boot time. I don't imagine there'll be a massive difference. They're both using the same operating system, and they're both using SSD storage, so there might be slight difference in it, but we'll see what happens. And obviously my wife's setup has a lot of things to load it, but then mine is also from what was on this MacBook before, and restored back in. So let me just close this. It's strange because I kind of want to scroll from one screen to the other to click and things like that, rather than it being 2 separate machines that I'm working on. So let's just shut down and shut down and shut down. Windows when logging back in there. Of course, shut down just so they both doing the same things, and I didn't have anything open on them. So you can see kind of, this one's keyboard's gone, that one the keyboard's gone now. So they're both off. You powering both of them with the power things. I don't have any other external things plugged in, just power going into them in order to try and get as close to each other as possible, and you just power both these on. Let's see how this works. So the older one coming up quicker, maybe has less checks to go through, but here we are with this one actually getting into the setup quicker. So I'll set up to log us in. As you can see, there was a physical click with this one when I pressed it, and this one was just nothing. It's just a simple tap. I actually tapped it harder than I normally would. So password on that, and password set noise, and I'll hit return at the same time. And let's see how we do that, and there we go. So we're already in on the old one. The new taking a little longer to start up. Guess it's loading in more things that it needs to load in and set up. You know, I guess with the touch bar and everything else, it has to bring more things in. Maybe the other brings things in the background. Yeah, so it's actually quicker for the older MacBook to start up than previous one. I haven't started up any, downloaded any bench testing things or anything like that, just to see what the raw power is like inside. I'm sure that with rendering and things like that, it'll be much quicker and do things, but yeah, initially it takes a bit longer to start up and get you going. I said, larger trackpad, keyboard feels very nice as well on the new MacBook Pro. They've updated the keyboard style on that. I think they were having issues with some of it, so they've updated that. Form factor, they're like very similar, especially when they're closed or you have them, you know, side by side, back to back. Yeah, very, very similar looking to each other. Both, you know, very similar size. Slight differences in the way the screen is attached and everything else. But yeah, I mean, it's very, very minor differences between them. So I was going to possibly run some bench tests. I thought I'd maybe download some software and things, but it's getting a little late here. You know, the kids are asleep and everything and that, so I'm just going to wrap it up, I think, there with the fact that, yeah, you know, trackpad, I was surprised that the older Mac started up quicker than the new Mac. Possibly some things going on there under the hood that it needs, you know, loading more drivers or something or other to get things started and get you logged in. You know, I guess potential chips and things like that, you know, the like security issues and whatnot, bringing things in. But yeah, it was surprising, that, and yeah, I think I'm just gonna call it a night there. Maybe possibly do some rendering, bench tests, things like that in the future, and just see, you know, how they compare. But I need to prepare some things for those, so I might come back and do another one. But at the moment, yeah, just a physical comparison, a startup comparison with them. Yeah, interesting.